Right behind The Last of Us and Arcane, Fallout easily joins the table for great video game adaptations. And if anything, it's very impressive that Fallout succeeded this well, because it doesn't follow a fine-tuned story like The Last of Us. Jonathan Nolan tells a unique story within the Fallout world, and only uses the popular factions from the games. His direction with the story may be simple, but I think there's a subtle brilliance to it, mainly in how it resembles the game experience of playing Fallout. Like, I love how the story is orchestrated around a vault dweller going out into the world and severely changing through each interaction. She literally gets the most standard main fetch quest of finding this person and delivering them, and along the way, she's put into a lot of scenarios that resemble side quests. From a plot standpoint, this feels just like a Fallout game, and right away, you know the creators are curating an authentic adaptation. It's really refreshing and gratifying, and a lot of these side quest style set pieces were really fun. From the robot trying to harvest Lucy's organs, running into a mysterious community, or having your objective marker get eaten by a massive unknown creature. They're all colorful and add to the absurdity of this world. This kind of reminds me of The Mandalorian's episodic structure of having a bunch of side quests. However, these are more consistently great, while also being better at developing the characters. Like the second Lucy leaves the vault, every moment and set piece develops and hardens her. It never feels like the show is wasting time, because Lucy's naivety, ignorance, and pure bliss slowly chips away and completely inverts by the end of the show. And having all of these wacky interactions slowly changes her outlook on life. This overall arc I think is consistently captivating enough to kind of mask the lack of plot development in Season 1. Because it is at the end of the day just Lucy going out into the world to complete her main quest. I think the fish out of water dynamic works well in most stories, and is always a natural way to have seamless exposition in your story. The narrative doesn't really have a deep complexity, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, although the ending does remedy this. But the first 7 episodes feel pretty straightforward, and it trades in this plot development with a more profound storytelling method of just building the world. Every faction is wholly engaging, and they all act as enigmas who hide information and dark secrets. The intrigue within the story and the mystery of it is the primary driver. Like, that's the sole driving force of the Vault 33 subplot, which I also think is my main flaw with the show, in that this whole subplot only had that mystery going for it. It takes a really long time to get to the reveal, and the pace because of that is very slow. Whenever we cut back to the subplot, I kind of found myself rolling my eyes because the writers already established that something is wrong, but we're not going to find that out for a while. And in the meantime, not much else plot-wise really happens, and there's also some stagnant character development. Which, I hate to say this because I found the overall juxtaposition of this community to the dark undertones of the show to be delicious. As an example, one of my favorite scenes was just the community cleaning up the carnage and their friendly demeanor returning. That, and there's also some great humor within the subplot. It's just too bad that the pace really suffers since they have to withhold the reveal until the end. So then that leaves 2 other subplots, which are the Ghoul and the Brotherhood of Steel. Between the two, I think the Ghoul kind of carries the show, mainly because Cooper Howard, aka the Ghoul, is the most gray, intriguing, and alluring character. He funnily enough also resembles the Man in Black from Westworld, which Jonathan Nolan was also the showrunner for. The cowboy similarity is very apparent, and imbues this character with this badass gravitas, despite him gunning down multiple people who weren't really bad guys. The Western genre is pretty bulletproof in terms of quality if you know how to pull it off, and Jonathan Nolan, given his experience on Westworld, definitely does. I think Walton Goggins also does a magnificent job, and takes a very flawed character and makes him so effortlessly likable. I also love the way in which Jonathan reveals his character throughout the show. It's essentially like this graph. We're simultaneously learning his character from the very beginning and from the present. Everything in between that time is a mystery, and is critical information for what this character's motivation is. Because of this, I think this makes the Ghoul a very interesting character, and there are a lot of details planted throughout that allude to certain revelations. One example being him recognizing Lucy's last name, which comes back up in the finale. He also has flashbacks, which adds a lot of context to the story, while also deepening his character. In these flashbacks, they also establish the dangers of capitalism as one of the themes, and all the commentary and reveals related to that were great. But going back to his involvement in the story, I wish he was more consistently entangled with Lucy. I found their dynamic to be the best because of their stark contrast, as he constantly challenges Lucy's ideals. He's the perfect character to be paired with her because of these philosophical differences, and that just makes all of their interactions so engrossing. Unfortunately though, that doesn't last that long, and she ends up hanging out with Maximus for a longer duration. Now, I like the whole Brotherhood of Steel subplot and how the story exposes the faction's silly and absurd existence. It's just that, I wish they sustained the Squire and Knight dynamic for longer. That's where a lot of the humor and absurdity flourished, and the second the writer started brewing a romance between Lucy and Maximus, I was just kind of like, eh. It's not bad, and it's supposed to be stilted, awkward, and weird, but I'd gladly trade that in for more Ghoul and Lucy, because I'm more drawn to engaging dialogue that explores the deep themes within the show, while also developing the characters immensely. Outside of the romance though for Maximus and Lucy, their pairing gives the story some levity in that Maximus's character is proof that there is some good in the world, essentially saving Lucy from abandoning her golden rule philosophy. So, given the direction in which Season 2 has these characters going, I'm actually really excited to see how they grow in the future. Then, one more thing I want to touch on for the subplots is that I really like how Jonathan Nolan coordinated all the subplots in revealing the big twist simultaneously. It's a cathartic moment in the story given how much buildup there was for it, and it's an outstanding reveal. It's been a long time since I've played Fallout, and I've only played the 4th game, so the reveal was still refreshing to me. It emphasizes the capitalism theme, and I think it's even more resonant now than ever. So yeah, I think the overall story and writing are consistently good enough, and any small flaws can mostly be forgiven given the outlandish and absurd tone. Which, going into the tone, I think Jonathan Nolan absolutely crushed it. Between the outrageous scenarios and characters that infect the show with so much personality, the bizarre, upbeat retro music, the way they use slow motion to highlight the absurd nature of these action scenes, that also kind of harkens back to the VAT system in Fallout, the silliness of different mechanics, and so much of the humor is clever in how it explores the dichotomy of different factions, or their relation to the world. That's why I love a lot of the interactions these people have within the vaults. Their lifestyle is just a massive contrast to everything else in the world, and them trying to fix the prisoners and debating different topics was so funny. That and the humor in general I think was consistently clever. My favorite bit was the convention break of the snake oil conundrum in westerns, where this person sells fake miracles, but it turns out that it was actually a real miracle, although there was kind of a cost for that. The overall tone is so energized with a fun aura that it evokes the same feeling as playing the game. And even though it's a very silly and absurd show with not a lot of plot development, there's still a relatively deep story behind the scenes, and each of the factions are written perfectly. Then to me, probably the most impressive aspect of the show is the production value. It's truly impeccable, from the seamless integration of practical and VFX augmentations, filming on real locations, outstanding sets that get a lot of mileage, excellent CGI, and some amazing props and suits. Like, this is a massive contrast after just watching Avatar: The Last Airbender, where it felt like a lot of their sets were small and fake. Here, the VFX can be so well hidden at times that I genuinely just started believing that what I was watching was real. Like, this shot of the vertibird flying is breathtaking, and the reflection in the puddles on the ground is such a small detail that cements the shot as being real in your mind. That and the blend of them filming the actors on a vertibird set, and combining that with VFX ends up tricking your brain into thinking they somehow built these. Especially since the T-60 power suits are real, which for those in particular, I was really hesitant about their execution because they could come across as looking janky or fake, but I never really got that feeling, and the way they're filmed and shown to have great strength and impact really sells them. I also love the voice modulation and how that contrasts the person inside the armor and that it hides their otherwise weak or scared nature. The reveal of Knight Titus was perfect and added a lot of nuance to the Brotherhood of Steel faction. That and I think Maximus challenges the fundamentals of the faction and what he idolizes, his inner flaws and insecurities. I found that whole dynamic to have some satisfying depth, but that's going off topic from the production value. In general, I think Amazon dumping a fuck ton of money onto Jonathan Nolan's lap and letting him cook was simply going to be a winning solution. He's proven himself to be very competent production-wise with Westworld, which which, if you haven't watched that show, then Season 1 alone is a masterpiece, and I wouldn't really recommend going past Season 2, but that experience easily carried over into making the world of Fallout seem wholly real. There's just so much you can dive into for how well executed this world is, and how much detail is in every environment, but we'd be here all day if I went into all of that. Overall, I think the tone, characters, world building, production, dynamics, and themes were all extremely well done. There are some minor writing flaws here and there, like this.
There was a flaw in the welding just below the chest plate.
But at the end of the day, it's really easy to forgive those shortcomings given how fun and well executed the show is. I'm excited for Season 2, especially after that ending Easter egg, and hopefully there isn't a massive fall off of quality like Westworld. Thank you for watching, and if you want to follow me on Letterboxd for more opinions on movies, then that's in the description, along with links to my Patreon and Discord. Also, thank you to Logan Farmer for consistently being my top patron.